Welcome to the Local Pulse on HBC. I'm Dave Dicke. Thank you for joining us today. And our guest today from Habitat for Humanity-Winona County is Brittney Hennessey. And Brittney is the executive director there. And we're going to talk all about what is happening with Habitat in Winona County. So Brittney, first of all, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here and share all about Habitat Winona County and housing.
So let's start with your journey. What brought you to Winona, and specifically, what path did you take to end up at Habitat for Humanity here?
That's a great question. So I grew up in Minnesota. My husband and his family are lifelong Winonans, and we left Minnesota in our 20s. We lived elsewhere and really craved community, arts and culture, the outdoors, and time with our families. And so that brought us back to Winona. And what really prepared me, I would say, for coming back and working in housing is a lifelong career in nonprofit, working with people whose ultimate goal is the pursuit of happiness, whether that was through education, human services, or elsewise. So landing here at Habitat has been really fulfilling in continuing that nonprofit journey.
So Habitat just celebrated 30 years, and what are some of the key milestones that you've seen in the organization?
30 years. Well, as I look back, first of all, I had to digest all of this history, and so much of this work I want to pause and say is attributed to other leaders before me and their incredible work and passion as well. But Habitat Winona County has built 56 homes. We're building 57, 58, and 59 right now. We're preparing for another 3 to 4 homes after we complete those, as well as we do repairs. Not every habitat does a repair program. And I think that that is really the cornerstone to our community as we have aging housing stock, is that we've completed at this point over 350 home repairs. We do about 30 to 40 a year. And with the ultimate goal, and I think highlight of what Habitat does, is that we build community. We provide stability for folks, we provide safety. And while the families change, that outcome doesn't, right? That is a very consistent outcome that we can provide Winona County.
What types of repairs do you do? How far do those range? And then what impact do you see on the folks who are in those homes where you've made those improvements?
Mm. So it all really depends on the person and the funding source. And so there's always different grants that come up. But our true and tried repairs are typically around accessibility, exterior repair, or what we call critical home repairs. And so I'll break those down. Accessibility is everything from grab bars, wheelchair ramps, safe access in and out of your home. We do a lot of that for folks. Think about people who have life-altering abilities and they're stuck in the hospital and they're like, I can't come home until my home is accessible. That's kind of where we come in and we provide that affordable option for them. Exterior repairs, everything from scraping paint off old houses and repainting them. We've done doors, we've helped lift porches up. And then critical home repairs are oftentimes folks who have parts of their home that make it unlivable. A perfect example is we had a woman who her toilet was really sunken into her floor due to some flooding. We're able to come in, replace some of that subfloor, and make it so the person could use their bathroom again. So most of our repairs, though, I would say are around accessibility.
So Winona has a aging housing stock. We've got a lot of beautiful homes, but I mean, I think that's what's unique about Winona too. You've got these huge, big Victorian mansions, but then you also have these the shotgun homes on the east end of town, which are very unique to Winona as well. But all aging. And how does Habitat meet that challenge of creating new housing? I mean, there's not a lot of build space in this city.
That's a great question. Our bread and butter is building creatively. And so I think one, I want to reiterate what you said and that you are spot on. We have a very aged housing stock. Most of our homes, at least half, are 80 plus years old in Winona. And so those are also the naturally affordable housing, right? Because they're aged and they typically require repairs. I find, as somebody who bought a home that was built in 1885 as their first home, that you then have to balance the cost of repairs on top of then your mortgage. That's actually not accessible for a lot of people. And so when we go in, we typically acquire sites that are brownfields. They're perhaps owned by the city or port authority because they've been taken back for whatever financial reason. And we will purchase those from those entities. Those are kind of our main two, is that we're building on small lots. We're doing infill for the most part. And the home most folks see in the city of Winona is 15 feet wide. And so we can fit that on a half lot on the east end. And so we're currently building one. People are like 15 feet wide. I'm like, yep, it's 2 stories and it will be 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So
Creative design.
creative design. And ultimately it's building affordably. It's a building to what that family needs while also realizing we have limited resources here. And how do we use the resources that were purchased, or granted to the best of our ability, right? Honoring those gifts while also honoring the needs of our community.
We talked about building in Winona, but it's Habitat-Winona County. And I know there's a project that has been underway in St. Charles for a while now, and that's the South Fork development. Can you talk about that a little bit and what makes that so unique and special?
The South Fork development, you're correct, it's an out-county development in St. Charles. Same income guidelines as the rest of our projects, but that project really came together as a partnership with SEMCRA, which is the regional HRA, Winona County, and Habitat-Winona County. And that really transpired during COVID, or right before, after COVID. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to contribute to a more sprawling community. St. Charles is seeing a little bit of overflow from Rochester, Olmsted County, but ultimately, these small communities do want housing stock there, right? They need people to live there, whether that's for their tax base, to create jobs, to enhance their infrastructure. And so we've been able to build, we're in the middle of our second twin home. So that would be 4 units up there. And it's wonderful just to be able to serve a different group of people, right? That maybe don't work in the city of Winona proper. Maybe they have family out there, or perhaps they really just want to live in a more rural community because that fits their lifestyle. And that neighborhood has been wonderful to work in. All of the neighbors so far have been really positive and receptive. They see a beautiful home built that's contributing to their neighborhood as well. And so my hope is ultimately that whatever we build only brings, positivity and contributes in a good way to the neighbors and that township.
When you talk about building homes, I know you rely heavily on volunteers, whether it's a church group, a business or organization. And I know Southeast Tech, I believe you get some of their construction, I think, I guess curriculum kids are also helping out too, right?
we have had multiple groups of, I would say, young adults and some that are actually just young folks in general contribute both in St. Charles and in Winona. You are correct. We have Minnesota State College Southeast and their construction tech program, who has been coming to St. Charles 1 to 2 times a week, pending the semester, to build on our site. So everything from like they're putting up the siding to they've built all of our cabinetry for inside of those homes, which is incredible for them to be able to build a product for their coursework and actually have to care about it, right? It's going into somebody's home. And they also can be proud. We invited them when we did our dedication ceremony this past winter for the first twin home. We invited that class of students, and they were so proud to meet that homeowner and to be able to see their work come to a final end for the betterment of their community and that supports someone. They've also been helping in Winona some as well. But on top of the tech, we also had St. Charles High School, who contributed 1 to 2 days on that first twin home as well. And it was incredible to have that pipeline of, am I interested in construction, right? To then having access to Southeast Tech, right? And have that flow of students into a program that actually benefits them, and having that real world job experience really confirmed for these young people if it was the right path. And so it's fun to serve the families that we serve while also having this greater community good.
So once you find somebody for a home, what are some of the finance models and what kind of partnerships are in place to expand home ownership for people?
Mm-hmm. Right now, Habitat Winona County, it's important to note that this is, a subsidized owner-occupied program. So I always like to do a little bit of myth busting when I answer this question to say people do have a mortgage. They pay on their home. We don't give away homes for free. And we don't, even our repairs, we don't do for free for people. And so when we look at home ownership, our partnerships right now are philanthropic partners, local donors in our community that believe in what Habitat does and give to our projects. We can't do our work without the support of our community. The second are local businesses. We're sponsored by quite a few businesses here in Winona. And then when we look at actually financing for our homeowners, we partner with Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, a state agency. And so when we look at that $1 billion surplus that we all like to talk about a few years ago, part of them balancing that budget, which you have to do in state government, was allocating a percentage of that money to housing. And so that money is coming directly to Winona County. We're using it for down payment assistance for these homeowners. And then we're also receiving some as an entity of money called value gap. So when it costs more to build a home than what it appraises for, which is just about everybody right now, right? We actually can get a portion of that money back through Minnesota Housing right now. So as we look at a homeowner, St. Charles is a great example. Those appraise at $275,000. Most folks who are in the 80 percentile of our area median income, which is making about $90,000 a year or less, that's a lot for a mortgage. And so they have their first mortgage they pay on. They have their second mortgage, which is Minnesota Housing down payment assistance. And then sometimes to continue to make that affordable, that's where the donor dollars come in, is that Habitat Winona will have another silent third mortgage on top of that, that stack of capital funds.
We're talking with Brittney Hennessey. She is the executive director for Habitat for Humanity-Winona County. We're going to take a quick break and we'll talk more about Habitat. We'll come back, so you stay with us.
This one's gonna tell me my IQ, which I've always wanted to know, because it's a mystery.
I'm guessing it's very low because all these quizzes are for is to get your passwords for everything.
Oh, is that right?
How do you not know that?
How do you know that?
All right, well, we're gonna go for a run and watch for cars and strangers, and you change all your passwords so your identity isn't wiped out.
Bit dramatic. Really like to know my IQ, though.
Welcome back to the Local Pulse on HBC. I'm Dave Dicke, and our guest today is Brittney Hennessey. She is the Executive Director with Habitat for Humanity-Winona County. And again, Brittney, thanks for being here on the program today.
Thanks again, Dave.
So let's talk about funding. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about partnerships and some of the financial models, but what is your biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle when it comes to funding projects for Habitat for Humanity?
It's that the funding sources always change. A lot of the funding available is not long-term, meaning government budgets change, donor giving goes up and down. So it's really hard sometimes to find that consistency paired with it's expensive to build housing right now. It's expensive to do repairs. And not because of our overhead, but because physical supplies just cost a lot of money right now. And so homes that we used to build for $120,000 now cost $300,000 to build. And that's just a really hard truth to swallow, is that costs rise while also this need rises. And I think back, I grew up with a single dad who owned a home, also very old. So I feel like I should have learned my lesson to not build a home or buy a home from, 1885. But, he cared for this 170 some year old home with 3 kids because it was what he could afford. And that really drives my passion when I go to people and I say, hey, we have a shortage of housing. We cannot do it without consistent funding, and we can't do it without the partnership of other people and community members either. It takes all of us, I think, seeing our neighbors, because that's who we serve, right? Is truly our neighbors here in Winona County. It takes all of us caring about the well-being of our neighbors and bettering our community together. So that's kind of how I see it in our current funding challenges. And I also like to share the fun stat that if every person in the city of Winona gave $20, I would never have to host a fundraising event ever again. And while that is selfish for my workload, would be kind of nice.
So what happens if the funding's not there? And I know we hear about how the funding cuts that are in the pipeline and things for projects or in organizations like Habitat. What happens if you find you have to delay a project or even turn down a project? How do you go about that? I'm sure it's heartbreaking for all parties involved.
We're in a good spot right now where we're not starting any project and we don't have to delay anything. Ultimately, what happens when funding is cut is that we have to be more picky about who we can serve and their financial means, right? We serve 30% to 80% of the area median income. And as these projects get more and more expensive, we see that 30, 40, 50, 60 percentile really being ineligible to purchase a home because we can't make up that affordability gap. So the unfortunate thing is we just can't subsidize as much. So we're serving a very finite group of people who are typically making between $60,000 and $90,000 a year and hopefully have no debts. It is really what's happening. And I think most Americans have some kind of debt. And I will tell it, I'm going to say it, cars all. Biggest killer is that we see our car payments really push people out of eligibility.
Are there any creative or innovative funding models available that you can maybe help push some of these people into that affordability range?
We're looking at a few. So we have a property that we're in a purchase option for that we're currently looking at what do we build and how does what we build really meet community need. There's many models out there that we don't really practice yet, maybe because we haven't explored them or because the resources don't quite exist in our area yet. So one would be land trusts. We've seen First Homes in Olmsted County do this really well for affordability. It creates permanent affordability for that home. We've looked at cooperative housing, which means you don't have a mortgage, but you make a payment and you have equity stakes in that home. And we've also been exploring, there's like a model out of Habitat Flagstaff that's really cool, where they had the entire project funded, and then people pay their monthly payment, and Habitat is actually saving $800 and some change of each of those monthly payments. The other portion is paying for repairs and maintenance. And after a year of living there, a resident would save about $10,000. And so if you live there for 3-4 years, you take care of your debts, you square away your finances, you now have $30,000 to $40,000 to assist you into either moving into a Habitat home that is built or into something on the open market that you can afford as well. So there's a lot of models out there. I would say myself and my board we're actively exploring all of them because we see the wealth disparity growing, and we also see how difficult it is to continue to build because of how expensive it is. So there has to be some breaking point of how are we ensuring we're meeting need, both from a financial perspective and a quantity perspective.
Volunteers, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the program about is really what makes these projects happen and gets these homes built. What's something that people may not realize about that experience of building a home for someone? I mean, there must be people that are feeling, they're like, well, I think I'll just go out and pound a few nails and feel good about myself, but there must be more to it than that.
It is when a homeowner is on site with a group of people. So all of our homeowners they contribute hours to building their home as well. And they'll often jump in when there's a group who's helping build. And it's in that moment that those volunteers have this realization of, oh, this is not just me getting time away from work, right? Or it's not just about me feeling good. This is actually about serving another person. This is somebody who looks like me, works a job like me. And so I think when we have volunteers on site, people start to have this actualization that none of us are that far from needing a hand up from somebody in our community. And that's the turning point of volunteerism. On the funny side, I think most people don't realize when we build a new home that we use ICF, which are insulated concrete forms, which are kind of like big Legos. And so that the funny part of it all is that most people are expecting to do a ton of framing, and then they get there and they're like, what? I'm stacking Lego blocks? And so that's always fun for people to also have knowledge on other ways to build homes too.
Is there a specific story that you have that kind of really encapsulates that spirit of collaboration between homeowner and volunteer?
Yeah, I would say, so this spring we did a wheelchair ramp, and this isn't building a new home. This is referring to our home repairs. And we had a woman who her current ramp was deteriorating. It wasn't one that we built by any means, but she has cancer She was getting cancer treatments. It was really hard on her body. She was getting splinters from her ramp. Had holes in it, so she had tripped and fallen. And it was actually our retired seniors group. It's a group of men that come every week and help on different projects. And they rebuilt a whole new ramp for her. But what was nice is that they also were able to build friendships with each other. They actually care about how she's doing. They want to check in on how's chemo or wherever she is in her process. And that is heartwarming to me, that it doesn't just doesn't end at that repair. We're looking at the whole person. And for that group to be able to just build relationships and check in, that's heartwarming to me. And so know that for every project we do, there's people behind it. There's a lot of care. There's birthdays we celebrate. There's health milestones that we get to send congrat cards for. And sometimes we also have sad stories too, where despite all the support we have, that person does have to move or go into assisted living, but we're still there for them. We still exchange notes and cards and are here to cheer them on. So all the while we provide, safety and stability through housing, we are also building community alongside folks.
Great. We're getting into our waning moments here. So real quickly, if someone watching to the program would like to help out, wants to volunteer, what are the best ways to make that happen?
The best way to get connected to us is to go to our website, habitatwinona.org. On our site, you'll be able to find a volunteer sign-up form. You'll be able to get updates on our current projects. You'll also be able to find links to giving, and you'll be able to find our contact information. We're always open to get lunch or coffee and talk more about housing here in Winona County or ways that you can be engaged.
Awesome. Well, Brittney, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us today. Great to see you, and best of luck here as the year continues and the building continues.
Thank you so much, Dave. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. And we want to thank you for watching today as well. We hope you'll tune in for the Local Pulse each weekday evening at 5 o'clock here on HBC, and you can also watch us on the HBC YouTube channel. Again, thank you to Brittney for joining us, and we want to thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time here on the